Part 41. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 423. After the 76ers timeout, Brett Brown replaced Angzi. As the live commentator at the American Airlines Arena said, LeBron James was in a good state of the game. Since the beginning of the game, he has hit 4 goals in 9 shots, scored 12 points, 3 rebounds and 3 assists, but in fact almost all of James' points were obtained during Angzi's off-court break. During the opening period of the second quarter, James scored 8 points on 3 of 5 shots. After Angzi played, he immediately faced James. Of course, after the timeout, the 76ers first had the offensive ball, Angzi held the ball outside, and James defended him. The insider Thaddeus Young withdrew, and the high position gave Angzi a pick-and-roll screen. Angzi handed the ball to Thaddeus Young by the way, and walked around the three-point line empty-handed, and Evan Turner on the other side also an 11 came with a screen, an 11 slipped outside the three-point line on the touch line and got an open opportunity. Thaddeus Young then passed the basketball over. Angzi raised his hand to make a three-pointer after receiving the ball, and the Heat's defending player immediately rushed over. An 11 adjusted immediately, dribbled the ball one step horizontally, and was ready to shoot again. At this time, James rushed forward, and Angzi collected the basketball directly and chose to pass the ball. A quick pass to the ground passed through James's side and flew to the center. There, Thaddeus Yang-Fei took the basketball, jumped up and dunked the basketball directly into the hoop. The 76ers narrowed the point difference to 3 points, and as soon as Angzi came out, he scored an assist. Before the halftime, Angzi had as many as 7 assists. Therefore, in the next period of time, Angzi's offensive the desire is not too strong. After receiving the ball, the first time he is looking for an opportunity to pass the ball and assist. However, the point difference has been unable to equalize. The Heat and the 76ers scored each other, and the point difference between the two teams has been hovering between 5 and 3 points. In the Heat's offense, LeBron James held the ball to face Angzi. In this game, James' offensive desire was equally general. It was found in the confrontation between Angzi and James that the Philadelphia media's claim that James was tired after scoring 61 points was not groundless. James did not be active in this game, and even gave Angzi some advantage in the confrontation. The point difference is still 3 points. James directly started a breakthrough, pressing an 11 rush to the inside, but soon, an 11 stepped sideways to the basket for James, and directly reached out to cut the basketball in James' hands. Heat fans on the sidelines noticed the scene and screamed directly. In the next second, Angzi had already succeeded, cutting the ball quickly and directly completing a steal. After cutting the basketball, Angzi squeezed James away, controlled the basketball, and directly launched a fast break. The Heat did not respond at all. No one could have imagined that Angzi actually stole LeBron James, who was holding the ball and breaking through, so that McBryn, who was on the scene, exclaimed. Steals, LeBron James mistakes, Angzi's steals are too strong, it deserves to be the first in the league. And McGrady, who was on the side, had been watching the 76ers fast break. An 11 rushed to the front court and directly shot a three-pointer. McGrady shouted, 3 points. Angzi made a three-pointer. With a scream, the basketball passed through the net with precision. Go in. Beautiful. The 76ers evened the score. After Angzi's appearance, the 76ers' offense and defense have undergone a qualitative change. He single-handedly defeated the Heat's big three. As soon as McGrady's voice fell, David Fizdale applied for a timeout and then made a substitution. He replaced Bosh with Wade, Norris Cole with Rashard Lewis, and then let Wade partner James to continue to attack the 76ers' defense. David Fizdale's rotation is very simple. The big three came out in the first quarter, the two giants took turns out of the second and third quarters, and then the big three continued to play in the fourth quarter. This game is more important, especially now. The Heat need James to maintain their offensive momentum, so David Fizdale chose to let James continue to play. After the timeout, the Heat's offense, Wade held the ball and attacked for a while. There was no result. Evan Turner's defense is still good. Now the 76ers are Anzi point guard, shooting guard James Anderson, and small forward Evan Turner. Power forward Thaddeus Young and center Henry Sims. Because of the departure of Spencer Hawes, Henry Sims got the opportunity to enter the rotation. Wade's offense was unfavorable. He then passed the ball directly to Anzi. Time was running out. James held the ball for a while. Facing Anzi's defense, he directly pulled out a jumper from the middle distance. The iron was struck with a bang. Henry Sims grabbed the rebound and the 76ers got the chance to overtake the score. Anzi took the ball directly from the back court, and after a quick dribble, appeared in the front court. Then, directly transferred the ball in a wide range. On the other side of the sideline, James Anderson received the ball and slowly shot the basketball out, which was another three-pointer. Swish, hit again. The 76ers led the Heat by 3 points. Under Anzi's defense, LeBron James's shooting touch dropped rapidly. Next, LeBron James was caught in a cycle of iron making. The American Airlines Arena narrator, who was still crying before Anzi's appearance, had nothing to say. LeBron James is indeed in poor condition, under Anzi's defense. James' confrontation has become very difficult. After halftime, the 76ers led 66-59, and LeBron James, who had shot more than 50% before Anzi, after halftime, he made 5 of 15 shots and performed poorly. For the Heat fans, the Heat's overtake at the start of the second quarter excited them, but after Anzi's appearance, the Heat's situation took a turn for the worse. LeBron James also withered, and the 76ers quickly tied the score and even took the lead in halftime. Leading by 7 points, the points difference is not big, but just looking at the situation, the Heat fans are desperate. LeBron James is really tired and has no intention of exerting force at all. Dwayne Wade is unable to do what he wants. Bosh is in good condition, but Bosh still lacks the ability to kill the game on his own. After halftime, Anzi's data also exploded. With 15 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals, Anzi scored a double-double at halftime. With 5 rebounds, it looked like a triple-double. But what Anzi cares about is not the triple-double, he cares about his own assist record. Ray Allen is on the opposite side, and his assist record is 13, that is to say, Anzi still needs 4 assists to break Ray Allen's assist record, complete another upgrade. Therefore, after a 7-point lead in the half, and 11 continued to play in the second half. He will lead the team to play a wave to end this controversial game, while scoring 14 assists. To be continued, enable new URL. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 424. As soon as the third quarter came up, the tenacious Heat began to counterattack. David Fizdale replaced the Big Three in advance, and with the help of the Big Three's joint impact, he opened the 76ers with an 8-0, narrowing the difference to 1 point. Brett Brown followed and called a timeout. The team's offense went wrong. At the beginning of the second half, the Heat put a strict guard on Anzi. James only defended Anzi. Once Anzi breaks through, Chris Anderson or Wade will do it. Clamping over, this kind of defense made an 11 pass the ball frequently, but the Heat made up the defense very quickly. Unless an 11 passes the far end, it is difficult to get a chance. It's not impossible to transmit the remote, but if the Heat are guarded, it is easy to make mistakes in the remote. So considering that in the end, the 76ers offense became stagnant. After the timeout, Brett Brown also made an adjustment. He replaced Evan Turner on the court and then let Anzi play off the ball. The advantage of this adjustment is that the Heat can't double-team Angzi without the ball. Angzi can run out of the open space through his own running position, and once Angzi runs out of the open space, the 76ers offense will survive. However, an 11 showed a wry smile. In this way, his assist efficiency will be greatly reduced. Of course, the more important thing in this game is the team's victory. Now there are 2 points left, and the most important thing is to score as soon as possible. After playing again, Angzi played without the ball. Evan Turner held the ball at the top of the arc. Angzi bypassed the baseline to the bottom corner and successfully ran out of an open position. Evan Turner's pass also arrived, and an 11 made a direct jumper and scored 3 points. In the first round after the timeout, Brett Brown's adjustment was successful. Angzi ran out of an open position by running without the ball, and then used a three-pointer to re-enlarge the point difference. Then, the Heat also played a wave of beautiful cooperation. Wade and Bosch's mid-range hand-to-hand cooperation gave Bosch a chance to shoot. He shot the ball and hit 2 points. The point difference became 3 points. With a 3-point difference, the 76ers continued to allow Evan Turner to hold the ball and Angzi made an empty cut. With this ball, Angzi bypassed Cole Aldridge's screen and got an open again, but this time, Angzi received the ball. Did not choose to shoot directly, but rushed to the basket with the ball. This sudden change made James unable to stop the car. James thought that Angzi would take a direct shot, so he still rushed to Angzi's original position. Angzi was empty, he rushed to the basket, the Heat had no one to defend, so Angzi rushed into the inside with a bang and completed a dunk. After finishing dunks, an 11 shrugged, he was a little speechless, and no one came to make up for defense. Originally, Angzi's idea was very simple. After leaving LeBron James, he broke through to attract other Heat players' defenses, and then divided the ball to help his teammates score. In this way, Angzi could score assists while playing off the ball. But very helpless, the Heat's replenishment does not seem to be timely. Soon, Angzi didn't need to be helpless. The 76ers attacked again. Angzi was still an old way. He went around from the bottom line and again used Cole Aldridge's pick-and-roll screen to throw off James. But this time, Angzi cut directly in the penalty area. Evan Turner's pass was also passed towards the penalty area. On the Heat side, Chris Anderson's defense was not in place in the last round. This time he was very concerned about the situation in the penalty area. When Angzi entered, he immediately made a defense and posted Angzi. Angzi then leaned against Chris Anderson, then bowed his head and directly hit the ground to pass the ball. On the other side, Thaddeus Young jumped up, and after receiving the ball, he slammed the basketball into the hoop. Angzi got his 11th assist, and he and Thaddeus Young came to celebrate with a high five. The 76ers continue to maintain a 5-point lead. And then, just after their offense played alive, the defensive end also made achievements. Wade broke through, Evan Turner directly intercepted the ball, the interception was successful, the 76ers quickly hit a wave of fast break, Angzi front court for the ball. After receiving the basketball, Angzi cut directly into the penalty area, attracted the defense, and threw the basketball to the other side. Tony Roten on the other side received the ball and layup and scored 2 points. On December 14, Angzi's assist distance broke Ray Allen's assist record by only 2. In the Heat's offense, James received the basketball and forced the ball into Angzi. He missed the layup again. Angzi grabbed the rebound and launched a fast break again. However, with this ball, Angzi failed to find a chance to pass the ball quickly, and after rushing to the front court, he directly shot a chasing three-pointer. Swish hit. The American Airlines Arena sounded a piece of exclamation. After a three-pointer hit, the 76ers lead extended to 10 points. Then, the 76ers continued to expand the point difference. Angzi also quickly completed his 13th assist, or cut off the ball to catch the ball, After receiving the ball to break through to attract the defense, after Anzi scored a goal, assisted Tony Roten on the outside. Hit 3 points. In this way, before the end of the third quarter, Anzi locked his assists at 13 times, tying Ray Allen's career assist record. A tie is useless, Anzi still needs an assist to break this record. However, after the third quarter, the 76ers have won the Heat by 18 points. In the second half of the third quarter, the Heat's defense collapsed and the offense was unsustainable. In this game, as a native of Florida, William Hunter came to the sidelines to watch the game, but he only came as a spectator and bought a back row ticket. After watching most of the game, William Hunter couldn't help but scolded my mother. Before this game, William Hunt would never have thought that the Heat would lose to the 76ers. Not to mention the difference in strength, just 1 point the Heat have lost 2 games in a row, and no one would have thought that the Heat would have 3 in a row. Losing, for a team aspiring to a championship 3-game losing streak is somewhat unimaginable. Of course, the game is not over and the Heat have not yet determined to lose, but judging from the state of the field, it is very likely that the Heat will lose. Losing is nothing. William Hunter is even more angry about LeBron James' performance. After 3 quarters, LeBron James made 7 of 18 shots, scored 16 points, 5 rebounds and 4 assists. It seemed that except for his shooting percentage, everything else was okay. But compared to Anzi, the gap is too big. After 3 quarters of the game, Anzi has scored 23 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists, and 4 steals. The shooting percentage is even more terrifying. He made 9 of 14 shots and exceeded 60% of the field. This means that the Heat have not been able to do well. The restrictions live in Anzi. The 13 assists in the 3 quarters also set Anzi's personal high. In contrast, William Hunter turned and left his seat early to leave the field in a furious. At this time, there are not a few fans leaving the court, and the inferiority of Miami fans has once again appeared. To be continued, enable new URL. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 425. Leading by 18 points in 3 quarters, the 76ers are about to win the victory. Once this game is won, the 76ers will double kill the Heat in the season, and the Heat will also have a 3-game losing streak. By then, the Big Three will be questioned, and David Fizdale is even at risk of dismissing get out of class. Therefore, in the fourth quarter, David Fizdale continued to send the Big Three. The 76ers also have the same idea. The Heat are unwilling to give up, and the 76ers' goal has become to lock in the final victory as soon as possible. Therefore, Brett Brown chose to let Anzi continue to play. He sent a lineup with Anzi as the point guard, shooting guard James Anderson, small forward Jack Lauder, power forward Thaddeus Young and center Cole Aldridge, and Anzi once again played as a point guard. The first offense in the fourth quarter, the Heat's possession of the ball. LeBron James took the ball from the backcourt and controlled it to the front court, and Anzi defended it. Facing Anzi's defense, James lowered his focus, dribbled the ball under his hips, and constantly observed the 76ers' defense. Then, a cross-step swayed, trying to sway Anzi, but Anzi didn't respond, still staring at the basketball in James' hands. At this time, James saw the opportunity and quickly started with a cross-step, rubbing an 11's shoulder and rushing in. The quick start was sudden, and Anzi almost didn't react. Fortunately, Anzi's defense was fully focused. Almost the moment James started, Anzi directly wrapped himself up sideways. James continued to rush for 2 steps and found that Anzi's defense could not be shaken off. So, suddenly it was a step backward, and a dry jumper came directly. There was an exclamation on the sidelines of the American Airlines Arena. LeBron James didn't feel good in this game. They could already see the ball hitting the iron. Sure enough, after Angzi jumped high and interfered, with a bang, the basketball hit the inside of the basket and bounced out. Inside, Cole Aldridge accepted the rebound and quickly handed the ball to Angzi. Angzi directly launched a fast break. In this game, the Heat allowed the 76ers to play many fast breaks. Usually the Heat used a fast break to defeat the opponent's defense, but in this game, the Heat's state was a bit bad, so they were attacked by the 76ers in the opening game. The counter-attack hit a full bag, and until the fourth quarter of the game, the Heat still couldn't prevent the 76ers' fast break counter-attack. Angzi counter-attacked to the front court with the ball, cut into the inside to attract the defense, directly returned the ball, followed by James Anderson shot a chasing three-pointer. In the full court inhalation, with a scream, the basketball hit the rim accurately. Goal in. Angzi also breathed a sigh of relief. With 14 assists, Angzi can perform another upgrade. I think that the next upgrade will be an upgrade that will make Angzi a supergiant. The game was also in a bad state for the Heat, and soon lost suspense. In the 6th minute of the fourth quarter, with Tony Roten holding the ball and cutting inside, after scoring a layup and causing a foul, the point difference came to 22 points. 5 players from the end of the bench stood up on the Heat side. When Brett Brown saw this, he also greeted the 5 substitutes and was about to substitute. At Turner Sports, McBrien also began to announce the Heat's loss, 102-80, the 76ers have secured the victory, and the Heat have lost. This will be their third losing streak. Maybe the Heat really deserve it? Think about what happened to them, losing to the Rockets, Spurs and 76ers in a row. McGrady continued, the Heat lost and the 76ers won. The situation in the East is a bit complicated. Angzi's performance is very good. In this game, he proved himself. With the Angzi 76ers, he has the opportunity to threaten in the playoffs. The Heat's status as the overlord of the Eastern Conference, and now the Eastern Conference also has the meaning of the 3 powers contending for hegemony. McBrien also nodded, in this game, Angzi's performance completely suppressed LeBron James, who was against him, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 15 assists and 5 steals, a quasi-triple-double data, or maybe it's a super stat of 25 add 5 add 15 add 5, and LeBron James barely scored 22 points, shot 9 of 23 from the field, only 40% from the field, and had 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 turnovers. It can be said that the Heat's losing streak during this period is related to the poor state of LeBron James. LeBron James has been in a bad state recently. This point was raised by the Philadelphia media. The major media in the United States sneered at it. But in the game, LeBron James showed his true shape. It was indeed in a bad state. Under Angzi's defense, he played well. It's terrible. It can be said that this victory of the 76ers was taken from LeBron James. If James is in normal condition, the 76ers would not have won so easily. With the replacement of both sides on the bench, Angzi's data is also frozen, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 15 assists and 5 steals. The only pity is that Angzi failed to make a triple-double. But the record has been broken, and Angzi doesn't care. In the last 6 minutes of the game, the two teams had finished off the bench, and the Heat's bench had to make a point, narrowing the point difference. In the end, the Heat lost to the 76ers 95-112 and lost 17 points. The Heat lost, Angzi also suppressed LeBron James on the court, and all the questions before the game came to fruition. Angzi must have sat on the throne of the Ticket King, and with this game, there is no doubt that he has sat, no matter how aggressive North American fans insulted, no matter how the mainstream media in North America questioned, Angzi will use her own performance. Prove himself without controversy. The interview after the game became very unenthusiastic, because the 76ers won, and most of the reporters went to the Heat. The three-game losing streak of the Heat and the terrible LeBron James were the focus of their attention. Anxie just surrounded a few domestic reporters here, asked a few questions, and soon dispersed. Then people cleaned up in the visiting team's locker room for a while, boarded the bus and went to the rest hotel. After returning to the hotel, Anxie also waited until the system upgrade was completed. This time, an 11's upgrade choice is very simple. Last time an 11 was entangled in passing and breaking through two attributes. In the end, he listened to James' opinions and chose to pass. This time, an 11 did not need to entangle. Although there are still from Jeff Hornacek's off-ball attribute bonus of 85, from Tony Parker's emergency stop jumper attribute bonus of 87, from Hakeem Olajuwon's back attribute bonus of 90, from Hakeem Olajuwon's low-level attribute bonus is 90, and the breakthrough attribute bonus from Allen Iverson is 96, and so on, but no matter which attribute, it is not as big as the breakthrough attribute bonus. Therefore, this time, Anxie did not hesitate and chose to upgrade and break through. This is an upgrade to raise Anxie's strength level. P.S. Push an old sportsbook super training masterpiece, currently has 4 million words, football coaching article, one of the competitive products, you can go and read it to be continued. Enable new URL. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 427. On the second day after the match with the Heat, the heated debate about whether Anxie was worthy of the throne gradually disappeared. Defeated the Heat in a direct conversation, and at the same time suppressed LeBron James in personal performance, Anxie has proven everything. On the second day after the game, the focus of the media was on how the Heat will adjust after the three-game losing streak, and whether David Fizdale will dismiss get out of class. Pat Riley quickly gave the answer. David Fizdale will not leave get out of class, but Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo Sports first broke the news that the Heat are peddling Luke Richard Barmott. The most valued new Heat aide was eventually put on the trading market by the Heat because of an offensive issue. However, this series of actions by Pat Riley did not divert the media attention, on the contrary, it became more and more concerned about the Heat. What player can Luke Richard Barmott trade for? Can the Heat solve the existing problems? Also, if the Heat and the Pacers lose again in the next game, will David Fizdale still not leave get out of class? So, on February 7, Indiana, the first Indiana Pacers in the East and the second Miami Heat in the East began. At the same time, the 76ers who did not play that day ushered in a new teammate. Pau Gasol appeared in the 76ers training hall, under the leadership of Sam Hinkie, visited the team's honor showroom. The deal for Pau Gasol has been completed. The 76ers used Thaddeus Young and 2 second-round picks from the Cavaliers to get Pau Gasol from the Lakers. The transaction was completed smoothly, because Thaddeus Young also played very well this season. In the last few games, which is the so-called inspection stage, when Anxie upgraded his pass, Thaddeus Young played even better. The season averaged 14.6 points, 6.8 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1.1 steals and 0.9 blocks per game. Young and dynamic, and a fairly long contract, Thaddeus Young's trade value is still very high. And Pau Gasol turned directly against Thaddeus Young. The all-star power forward is very strong, there is no doubt about this. But the problem is that Pau Gasol is slow, and he is struggling under the Mike D'Antoni system. The Lakers also intend to send Pau Gasol away. In addition, this year is still Pau Gasol's contract year. After the contract expires, the possibility of Pau Gasol's contract renewal is zero, and all the sums up, it is not surprising that this transaction can be completed. To put it simply, the Lakers used Pau Gasol's expiring contract in exchange for a fairly good young player and 2 future second-round picks. No matter how you look at it, the Lakers made money. Of course, it is not to say that the 76ers have lost. The 76ers certainly did not lose. After they got Pau Gasol, the team's combat effectiveness has increased sharply. If they can renew Pau Gasol, the team's main framework for the next few years, even if there is. Brett Brown is also very satisfied with this deal. Pau Gasol is a player that fits his tactics. The functional type is equivalent to the Spurs' Boris Diaw. Of course, better than Diaw, Pau Gasol still has a lot of strong autonomous offensive ability. In addition, the impression flow believes that Pau Gasol's defense is not strong, which is actually wrong. One-on-one defense, Pau Gasol is not strong, but Pau Gasol is a very good help defender. His career average of close to 2 blocks per game illustrates this point. Therefore, the arrival of Pau Gasol has a great bonus to the 76ers. There are bonuses on both offensive and defensive ends. Of course, the bigger bonus is definitely on the offensive end. Pau Gasol went to the team's locker room after visiting the 76ers honor showroom. The 76ers are training on the court, and there are only 2 people in the locker room, Brett Brown and Angzi. Pau Gasol walked in, Brett Brown hurried forward to shake hands, Angzi followed behind and shook hands with Pau Gasol. "Welcome to the 76ers," Angzi said with a smile. Pau Gasol also replied sincerely, "Thank you, I am glad to join you, Mr. Brett, and I hope I can succeed in Philadelphia and join you in the championship." Hearing what Paul Gasol said, an 11 couldn't help but exclaimed. "I have to say that Paul Gasol's emotional intelligence is very high. No wonder he gets along so well with the boss. He said a few clichés, but just those who can speak feel comfortable." After a brief chat in the locker room, Brett Brown arranged a cabinet for Pau Gasol, then Gasol changed his jersey, followed Brett Brown and Angzi to the training ground. The new teammates joined, and the 76ers players who were called up gave a warm applause. The arrival of Pau Gasol means that the 76ers goals have changed, from targeting the playoffs at the beginning to being in the season. Going further in the playoffs, either the Eastern Conference semifinals or the Eastern Conference finals, and even the finals are not impossible to imagine. After all, not long ago, the 76ers just defeated the Heat. In the afternoon, the 76ers held a press conference for the joining of Pau Gasol, and there was an uproar in North America, because before the transaction was completed, they did not get any news. Only Yahoo Woshan got some gossips. The day before he joined the 76ers, he posted a tweet stating, "Pau Gasol may be traded and whereabouts are unknown." And this wow's gossip did not attract the attention of the media reporters, because rumors of Paul Gasol's deal often appeared. The Lakers wanted to send Paul Gasol away all the time, but in the end they failed. Success, so the reporters didn't take it seriously. Now, Pau Gasol suddenly appeared in Philadelphia in the 76ers training hall. How can we not surprise these reporters? Yahoo Sports' Adrian Wojnarowski directly tweeted, "Big news, Pau Gasol joined the 76ers in a deal, and the main bargaining chip in the deal is Thaddeus Young." The news of the God of Woe was fairly well informed, and more reporters just posted a brief one, "Major transaction, Pau Gasol joined the 76ers, the specific circumstances are unknown." So, almost all the reporters rushed to Philadelphia when they were notified, and then in the 76ers training hall, they met Paul Gasol holding the 76ers number 16 jersey. Then Sam Hinkie announced, "The subject of the transaction is Thaddeus Young and the 2 second-round picks in exchange for Mr. Pau Gasol from the Lakers, and Pau Gasol is welcome to join the Philadelphia 76ers." The reporters immediately typed words on their laptops and mobile phones, and then sent them out. Major news, the 76ers and the Lakers completed a deal. The 76ers and Thaddeus Young, 2 second-round draft picks, from the Lakers traded Paul Gasol. In addition, the Lakers will also get a sum of about $6 million special case of trading. And the Philadelphia media also added a sentence after this, "This may be a deal to change the league pattern." Good news, last night, the book has broken the boutique line and reached the boutique standard now. Super Role Player is a basketball novel. To be continued. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 428. When Paul Gasol arrived, the local media in Philadelphia had high hopes for him. And Pau Gasol did not disappoint the fans and the local media. On February 12, the last game before the All-Star weekend, the 76ers challenged the Jazz away. This was the first game where Pau Gasol joined the 76ers. Originally, Pau Gasol could also participate in the away game on February 10, but Brett Brown considered Gasol's long journey, and the Lakers had already taken a few consecutive game rotations before, and the state was also a bit poor. So Brett Brown didn't let Gasol enter. The 76ers' opponent in that away game was the Warriors. Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson teamed up with 13 three-pointers to defeat the 76ers. Kawhi was also missed due to injury in this game, and Pau Gasol did not play. It is not difficult to understand that the Sixers of Major Generals lost. Then, the 76ers came to the Utah Plateau. Gasol almost recovered. Brett Brown directly lined up Pau Gasol, and then joined the first game of the 76ers, Pau Gasol demonstrating his strength. He played only 29 minutes, 14 shots, 8 goals, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists and 2 blocks, helping the 76ers beat the Jazz away. The cooperation between Anzi and Gasol in this game is still very strange, but after having Pau Gasol, the 76ers have the second star player who can attract defensive attention, and Anzi's offensive play is more comfortable. In this game, Anzi also scored 29 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists and 4 steals, and was elected the best in the game. After the victory over the Jazz and before the All-Star weekend, the 76ers record came to 34 wins and 20 losses, continuing to rank third in the East. Then, it was All-Star weekend. The 2014 All-Star Game will be held in New Orleans. It is said that this is a decision made by the league to compensate the then new owner of the New Orleans Hornets, Tom Benson, to hand over the right to host the 2014 All-Star Weekend to New Orleans. Not long ago, on February 1, 2014, David Stern announced that he would step down as president of the league and officially retired. Adam Silver became the new president of the league, and the New Orleans All-Star Game also became Adam Silver's appointment. The first big event. Whether this All-Star Game can be successfully held will test Adam Silver's ability. David Stern has led the NBA through a successful 30 years. In the hands of David Stern, the NBA has become the most influential basketball league in the world, and Adam Silver needs to do this. This kind of influence continues to expand. Therefore, Adam Silver took over the first All-Star Game. He made a lot of changes to the process of the All-Star Game. At the same time, he also strongly invited some star players to participate in the previous individual events. For example, Anzi received the league's invited. I hope he will participate in this year's three-point contest and dunk contest. In addition, some interesting things have been added, such as the confrontation between East and West groups, competing for charity funds, and expanding the influence of the NBA through charity. As for Anzi himself, the three-point contest and the slam dunk contest, he decided to only participate in the three-point contest. The slam dunk contest is not interesting. This year's three-point contest is different from previous years. There are too many points to explode. Because before Anzi announced the competition, the Warriors' backcourt double gun Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson also announced the competition. In the 2012 All-Star Game, Anzi broke the record of the Dusty three-point contest for several years with a high score of 28 points, becoming the strongest three-pointer of all time, and a year later, Stephen Curry scored 29 points, a time-lapse. Anzi's record was broken in 1 year. So, with Anzi and Stephen Curry competing at the same time, this three-point contest is considered the strongest three-point contest ever. Is Angzi's revenge battle, or Stephen Curry's title defense battle, or the three-point supernova Klay Thompson's counter-attack battle? In addition to participating in the three-point contest, Angzi is also in the All-Star Game, the five in the East, the backline Angzi and Dwayne Wade partner, the front court is three small forwards, Paul George, LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony. The bench lineup has long been determined, 2 point guards Kelly Irving and John Wall, a shooting guard DeMar DeRozan, 2 power forwards Paul Millsap and Chris Bosh, and 2 center Joakim Noah and Roy Hibbert, counting, a total of 12 people. In the West, the guard line is composed of Stephen Curry and James Harden. Harden entered the lineup instead of the injured Kobe. The front court is Kevin Durant as a small forward. The inside line is Blake Griffin and James Harden. Kevin Love has 2 power forwards. On the bench, Chris Paul and Warcraft Howard both sat on the bench, and veterans Tony Parker and Dirk Nowitzki were also on the bench, plus Damian Lillard, LaMarcus Aldridge and Anthony Davis. The West is also a 12-man lineup. In addition to Angzi, the 76ers participating in the All-Star Weekend include Tony Wroten and Jack Lauder, who participated in the All-Star Rookie Challenge. Kawhi continued to miss out due to injuries. He completely withdrew from the All-Star Game. The skill match that is going to be played is also replaced by John Wall. Although the 76ers only had 3 players participating in the All-Star Weekend, there were 7 people who arrived in New Orleans by plane with Angzi. The injured Kawhi also came along. In addition to him, Paul Gasol and James Anderson, Sean Livingston and Francisco Garcia. The 7 people got off the plane and directly booked a room in a hotel in New Orleans by car. Abby followed the 76ers wives and went directly to downtown New Orleans for shopping, but Angzi had other things to do. In contact with the league staff, he went directly to the New Orleans arena. There, a group of star players selected for the All-Star Game are taking pictures of the All-Star Game. Angzi saw Tony Parker there, the two smiled and greeted them, and walked to the side to talk in a low voice. In the middle of the field, Anthony Davis, who was selected for the All-Star Game for the first time, looked stiff and took a personal makeup photo. Soon, an 11 met with Tony Parker's old teammates. Just after a few conversations, the photographer let an 11 play. Gathered Damian Lillard, John Wall, Anthony Davis, and the 4 of you are newcomers participating in the All-Star Game. Come here for a group photo, which is called the new All-Star Power. Angzi heard the sound and ran over quickly. Under the guidance of the photographer, the taller Angzi stood in the back row with Davis, who was somewhat restrained. The photographer snapped 2 photos, and then he thought, you are from the East, Anthony, and you are from the West. Let's have a duel between you two. Come on, take a pose. Angzi naturally let the photographer arrange it. He and Anthony Davis posed in a one-on-one pose waiting for the photographer to shoot. But the photographer is a bit dissatisfied with Anthony Davis. Anthony, relax, be natural. After saying this, Anthony Davis has indeed changed. The photographer squatted down to prepare to shoot, but soon he stood up again, thinking on the spot. Anthony, you can relax and be more natural. For example, how about pretending to be at this moment? An 11 had no objection, and nodded. Anthony Davis hesitated for a moment. Seeing an 11 nodded, he had no choice but to nod. Then, when it came time to shoot, Anthony Davis moved his lips, but still didn't say anything. Angzi was happy when he saw it. He didn't expect that this new season would also kill Anthony Davis. I was so shy, after thinking about it, I suddenly thought of a funny trash talk. Well, Anthony, the law of dynamics, close to the speed of light, gravity. Puff ha ha ha. There was a big laugh from the sidelines. Swibba Kevin Love hugged his stomach and laughed, what a real dog shit, it's actually the theory of relativity. Anthony Davis was stunned, and then frowned gradually. The photographer hurried to shoot, and the effect he wanted was achieved. Finally, the makeup photo of the new forces in the East and the West was completed. An 11 looked joking, while Davis looked serious and still looked very sensible. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 429. On February 15, 2014, the All-Star Weekend officially began. The first thing to do is the Rookie Challenge and the Masters. The final result of the Masters is no different from last year. The MVP was still won by Kevin Hart, who defended the honor. Then in the Rookie Challenge, the Hill team led by Andre Drummond and Damian Lillard challenged the Webber team led by Anthony Davis. In the end, Grant Hill defeated Chris Webber 142-136, and Andre Drummond scored 30 points and 25 rebounds to become the MVP of the audience. The number of rebounds set a record for the rookie game. However, an episode occurred during the awarding process. When the award presenter Will Pettit handed the trophy to Andre Drummond, he accidentally dropped the trophy on the ground and the trophy fell in half. It caused laughter from the audience and heated discussions after the game. In the Rookie Challenge, the two players who played in the 76ers didn't have too many performance opportunities. As head coaches, Grant Hill and Chris Webber gave more opportunities to the younger generations of their parent team, such as Andre, who won the MVP. Drummond is the player of Grant Hill's home team Pistons. And Anzi, who was watching the game on the spot, was also very boring, and kept chatting with Abby, who was sitting next to him. The conversation was rather shameful, so the two of them kept whispering. This scene was filmed by Turner Sports cameras. Charles Barkley, who explained the game, laughed loudly and said bluntly that Jeff Hornacek's daughter was killed by Anzi. Abducted. The camera also caught Anzi and Abby in the kissing session. Naturally, Anzi didn't feel any shyness. They had a passionate kiss with Abby in the crowd, which caused a scream at the scene. It can be said that Anzi was sitting on the sidelines. Even if he did not appear in the game, it also attracted a certain amount of attention. After the Rookie Challenge, Anzi talked to Anthony Davis for a few words. After taking the makeup photo yesterday, Anzi got acquainted with Anthony Davis. Anthony, why didn't you play in this game? Did MVP give people a hand? When Anthony Davis was not taking pictures, he was normal. Not so shy. He scratched his head. The Rookie Challenge is not interesting. Are you going to compete for the MVP of the main match? An 11 showed a surprised look, but with a smile. Ghosts can see that an 11 is teasing Davis. Davis didn't care, but waved his hands again and again. No, the Pelicans' current record is a bit dangerous. I need to put more energy into the regular season first. Anzi laughed. He didn't expect that Anthony Davis, who said he wanted to defend Kobe alone when he first joined the league, was so funny. He pulled Davis and said, "Anthony, let's go to dinner together, I'll treat you." Invited Anthony Davis to have a meal together. The day ended on the 15th, and then on the 16th, it was Anzi's turn to play. On February 16th, the second day of the All-Star Weekend, Anzi needs to participate in the three-point contest. Therefore, under the protection of Ivor Clark, he avoided all the reporters and went to the dressing room early to prepare. A skill competition is going on in the arena. Anzi listened to the shouts of the live DJ from a distance, then pushed the door and walked in. Almost all the players participating in the three-point contest arrived. Klay Thompson sat in front of a cabinet on the very side, as well as Bradley Beal from the Wizards, Kelly Irving from the Cavaliers, Joe Johnson from the Nets, and Marco Bay from the Spurs. Linelli and Damian Lillard of the Blazers, they are all here too. It seems that apart from Anzi, only Stephen Curry has not arrived. Anzi came in and started to change the jersey. After the change, he didn't communicate with other people, and quietly took out his mobile phone to read the news. After Curry entered the door, he shook his head and chatted with Klay Thompson, then glanced at Angzi, found a cabinet, and sat down. Soon, Angzi broke the news that the skill contest was over. Trey Burke won the championship with a 0.1 second advantage. Then, a staff member pushed open the locker room door to prepare the 8 players who participated in the three-point contest. Played. In the arena, the lights dimmed suddenly, and 8 players were waiting at the passageway, ready to play. According to the words of the live DJ, the appearances are in no particular order, but the staff still let Angzi play the finale. The first appearance is Owen. A huge beam of light struck Irving, and the audience in New Orleans was still very shameless, bursting into huge cheers. Immediately afterwards, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, Joe Johnson, Bradley Beal and Marco Bellinelli played one after another. Stephen Curry was the penultimate one. He was still the same, jumping and jumping. Shaking his head, a complete pupil. An 11 was the last one to play, the same was true. A huge light hit an 11, and then an 11 rushed out of the player channel. As an 11 came out, the cheers of the New Orleans arena reached its peak. An 11 trot all the way to the bench on the sidelines, and then saw Stephen Curry, looking at an 11 with a grimace. An 11 is still a bit strange, but when he stepped closer, Stephen Curry said, "An 11, are you here to fight for second place?" Angzi opened his mouth wide. Isn't this Nima a famous quote by Larry Bird? Stephen Curry is talking rubbish? Angzi smiled and shook his head, and then went back unceremoniously, if I were second, no one would dare to recognize the first. Okay. Let's do it. See who is the king of thirds of history. Stephen Curry let go of harsh words. Angzi will naturally not give in. The order of appearance in the three-point contest is reversed according to the previous appearance order. Therefore, Angzi is the first to play. Angzi must use absolute strength to let Stephen Curry knows who is the strongest three-pointer in history. This three-point contest in Adam Silver's hands, the rules have also changed. There were 5 shooting points in the three-point contest before 2014, with 2 symmetrical feet and a 45-degree angle. There are 2 symmetry, the other is at the top of the arc. Each shooting point has 5 balls, of which 4 orange are worth 1 point, and the last flower ball is 2 points, with a maximum score of 30 points. Since this year, each participating player can freely designate an advantage point among 5 shooting points and place 5 flower on the advantage point, and the other shooting points remain unchanged. Therefore, since 2014, the full score of the three-point game has become 34 points. However, the difficulty is still very large. Although Angzi is not weak in momentum, he has no bottom in his heart. Angzi's three-pointers are indeed strong, but there is still a certain gap between Curry and Curry in terms of attribute values. Angzi knows this very well. Because of Curry's three-point skills, it is much better than Angzi. Curry can hit a three-pointer with 2 or 3 moves from outside the three-point line, but Angzi can hardly do it. Angzi stood in the center of the field. He designated his advantage point, the top position of the arc, so the shooting point at the top of the arc was placed with 5 flowers. Then, Angzi stood at the bottom corner, ready to start his three-point contest. To be continued. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 430. Angzi stood on the sidelines and moved his hands and feet. With a beep, the referee blew the whistle and an 11 grabbed the first basketball in the bottom corner and threw it. Participated in a three-point contest. Angzi knew that it was difficult to shoot 25 three-pointers in 1 minute, so he tried his best to speed up. After the first ball was shot, it was too late to watch, so he grabbed the second ball and there was a scream from the rim, which told Angzi that the previous goal had been scored. The second ball, still screaming, scored. There was a cheer on the scene. Angzi's progress was very fast. After the cheers, the third ball and the fourth ball were shot one after another. But these two were a bit anxious, and they missed one after another. At the last flower ball, Angzi stabilized, slowed down the speed of his shot, and then screamed, and it hit accurately. There was another cheer on the sidelines. Then, at the second point, Angzi played the same as the first point. The first two goals were all hits, and the second two orange missed, but Angzi also missed the final flower ball. So, after the first 2 points, Angzi's total score is only 6 points, which looks very bleak. But then, the 3-point contest came to the most critical flower ball point. At the top of the arc, the ball point set by Angzi, 5 basketballs are all flower balls. This position is very important. Basically, this position can be determined based on the results of Angzi preliminaries. On the field, Angzi had already grabbed the first flower ball, jumped up, and threw it. Turned up a burst of white net flowers. Then the next second, another flower ball got in. Followed by the third one, which also got in. 3 in a row. The New Orleans arena is already boiling. If you count the points, Angzi has already scored 6 points in a row. The last 2 flower balls, Angzi still has no relaxation. After 2 clear sounds, Hwakiu points Angzi 5 goals. After 3 shooting points, Angzi's score has come to 16 points. Then, Angzi maintained his own touch for the last 2 shooting points, and the last 2 shooting points totaled 10 points. The 26 points he finally got is still a high score that many people can't imagine. This point, Marco Bellinelli, who played next, can prove that Marco Bellinelli placed the ball point 45 degrees to the right, that is to say, after shooting the bottom corner shot, then it's the flower ball point. Bellinelli's first shot was pretty good, scoring 3 orange and a flower ball, scoring 5 points. But then, Bellinelli made a mistake in the flower ball point. At the beginning, he hit 2 consecutive irons, then slowly adjusted it, hit 2 flower balls, and the last flower ball hit the iron again. After the flower ball point, Bellinelli only get 4 points. In the last 3 shooting points, Bellinelli scored 12 points in total, and the final total score is 21 points, which is 5 points less than Angzi. The third player to play is Joe Johnson. The Eagle King is very old. In this part of the 3-point contest, his performance is average. He has shot all 5 shooting points. Joe Johnson's total score is only 16 points, and there are only 3 places in the final. Joe Johnson's scoring basically declared him the end of the game. Bradley Beal, who played the 4th game, was the same. His performance was mediocre, and he didn't even score a point. After 5 shooting points, he only scored 14 points, which is lower than Joe Johnson. In this way, Brad Deliber was already out early. Kelly Irving played the 5th game. Irving's performance was also very good. The first shooting point was consecutive and 5 goals were not missed. However, the flower point did not perform well and only scored 1 goal. Therefore, the last shot was taken. Points also missed consecutively, so in the end Kelly Irving scored only 20 points, but this score made Joe Johnson out of the game early. Because of the present, the top 3 have become Angzi with 26 points, Marco Bellinelli with 21 points and Kelly Irving with 20 points. Joe Johnson, who was sitting next to Angzi, was a little helpless, lamenting the strength of the young man. Among the top 3, Angzi and Irving are both from the 11th year of the draft. A third-year student, Marco Bellinelli entered the NBA in the 2007 draft. He is a bit older. Excluding him, it is indeed a young man who won the third. The meaning of sub-competition. However, at this time, on the bench, the Warriors and Damian Lillard have not yet played, and the preliminary results of the 3-point contest have not yet been released. Everything is possible, but Angzi, who is currently ranked first, is not too worried. His 26 points are already considered high points in previous years, maybe a little bit lower this year, but it is also a rare high point. After all, the three-point contest increases the score per ball, not the number of balls. Damian Lillard appeared on the stage. His performance was extremely arrogant. In recent years, talented point guards in the league have appeared frequently. Damian Lillard is one of them. Like Russell Westbrook and Stephen Curry, they will always be very arrogant, but this kind of personality is very arrogant. Pleasant, on the one hand, the arrogant personality makes them competitive, on the other hand, the fans like to watch each other's matchups. Behind the arrogance there is also a certain strength to support it. Damian Lillard stepped onto the field, and after a beeping whistle, he started his three-pointer. The first shooting point made 3 consecutive shots, missed a goal, and then hit the ball again, scoring 5 points. The second shooting point was Lillard's flower ball point. In this position, Damian Lillard continued his strong performance, 5 flower hit 3 goals and scored 6 points again. At the third shooting point, Lillard's touch began to decline. The shot from the top of the arc only hit 2 orange balls. After 3 shooting points, Lillard scored 13 points. The last 2 shooting points, Lillard adjusted his field back, and the last 2 shooting points were all made and scored 12 points. Finally, after 5 shooting points, Damian Lillard scored 25 points, only 1 point less than Anxi. Then, Stephen Curry appeared. Curry was still shaking his head and shaking his head. An 11 couldn't help but laugh when he saw Curry's appearance. After playing, Stephen Curry immediately got serious. An 11 on the sidelines also looked at the center of the field seriously. He wanted to see how much Curry's three-pointer was better than himself. Beep. There was a whistle from the sidelines, and Stephen Curry quickly grabbed the first basketball and threw it out. The first ball hit steadily. After shooting the first ball, Stephen Curry immediately turned to his side, grabbed the second ball, and then took the same action as the first ball and shot again. Still screaming. The second ball still hits. The third ball. Fourth ball. Fifth ball. All hit. Stephen Curry's performance was shocking. Then came the flower ball point. After Curry got the position and ran to the position, he did not immediately catch the ball. Instead, he looked at the basket and then seriously grabbed the basketball. In a very standard posture, he took the first flower ball. Cast out. The arc of the basketball is perfect, and the speed is not hurried or slow. Finally, with a scream, the flower ball went straight into the basket. Then, the second flower ball, with another scream, go in. It wasn't until the last flower ball that it missed the basket with a bang. There was an exclamation on the sidelines, followed by screams and cheers like a tide. The first 10 goals Stephen Curry made 9 of 10 shots. Scored 14 points. The New Orleans arena exploded and everyone stood up, including Anxi. And then, Curry also continued his fiery touch. The third shot was 4 of 5 goals, the last flower ball missed, and another 4 points. Then, for the last 2 shooting points, Stephen Curry scored another 10 points, a total of 28 points, only 1 point away from his own record, and the score of 28 points also surpassed Anxi, becoming the first in the preliminaries. First, Marco Bellinelli, third in the preliminary round, was squeezed out. Bellinelli on the sidelines did not feel depressed because of losing the game. Instead, looking at Curry on the court, he exclaimed a series of sighs, "Bird shou, it's so avian shou." In the end, Klay Thompson has not yet appeared. At this time, the top 3 in the preliminaries are Stephen Curry with 28 points, Anxi with 26 points and Damian Lillard with 25 points. This ranking means that, Anxi and Stephen Curry entered the finals ahead of schedule. It seems that this three-point contest does have the meaning of the strongest three-point contest in history. To be continued. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 431. A genius remembers love male sign go divided by xiao, speaking rightward arrow net in 1 second, and provides you with wonderful novel reading. Klay Thompson was the last to play. Everyone felt that Damian Lillard, Angzi, and Stephen Curry had locked up 3 finals when Klay Thompson broke out. The same plot as Stephen Curry, the first 5 goals are all in, and his flower ball is also set at a 45-degree angle on the right, and then it explodes again, and the flower ball is all in. However, the shooting of the next 3 points was a little worse, and finally scored 27 points, just in the middle of Angzi and Stephen Curry, squeezing Damian Lillard out. All 8 players in the first round voted, and the final result was announced. Stephen Curry, who scored 28 points, was the first in the preliminaries. Klay Thompson scored 27 points, second place, and Angzi's 26 points only ranked third. The preliminaries exploded like this, and fans on the sidelines began to expect someone to break the record of the three-point contest in the final. On the sidelines, Stephen Curry began to choose the order of appearance, and Stephen Curry, who has strong self-confidence, chose to come first. As a result, the order of appearance in the final became, Stephen Curry played first, then Klay Thompson, and finally Angzi. Gentlemen and ladies, please be quiet, we and my three-pointer finals are about to begin, the host suddenly shouted, and there was a burst of excitement. The supporters obviously did not want the fans to be quiet, but to cheer up the fans. Curry was the first to appear. In the final, Stephen Curry changed the position of the flower ball. He placed the flower ball on the right bottom corner, which is the first shot point. Beep. As soon as the whistle on the sidelines sounded, Curry quickly grabbed the first ball and threw it out. Compared with the first round of preliminaries, he obviously reduced his shooting speed intentionally to ensure the shooting rate of the flower ball. The first ball hit steadily. After hitting the first ball, he turned around and picked up the second ball, almost in the same rhythm as the first ball, and then shot it again. The parabola is perfect. After the basketball crossed the highest point, it fell straight and fell into the hoop, bringing up a white net. The second ball still hits. The third ball, the fourth ball, the fifth ball. All hit. The first point is all 5 balls. Get 10 points straight away. There were a few screams from the sidelines, but then it was quiet. Stephen Curry ran to the second shooting point, and then in the quiet atmosphere, grabbed the ball and continued to shoot. At this shooting point, his shooting was still stable and scary. 5 goals hit 4 goals, the last flower ball was a little short, and the ball bounced out after the ball went in. It caused an uproar among the fans on the scene. This was the first missed shot by Curry. Shots. The commentators on the scene also sighed. At this moment, the world's focus was on Curry. Curry was still stable. After rushing to the top of the arc, he did not directly catch the ball, but glanced at the basket, adjusted his breathing, and then turned around to take the ball. The first ball took a glance and was thrown out. Basketball through a perfect arc. First goal, score. The second goal is still not hurried, let's go. Third goal, fourth goal, fifth goal, all scored. Curry went crazy and made 14 of 15 goals, including 6 flowers. Scored 20 points after 3 points. The fans on the sidelines were amazed, even Angzi watched them dumbfounded. Curry shot every ball in one go, and then accurately hit the basket. For the fourth point, Curry speeded up a bit, 1 minute was running out of time, and he didn't want to fall short. The fans on the scene stretched out their hands, waiting for Curry to finish the last 2 points, and then burst into thunderous cheers. First goal, score. The second goal, score. The third goal, still scored. The fourth goal, still scored. For the last ball, the flower ball, Stephen Curry slowed down some speed, and then with a scream, he still scored. It's another 5 goals. When Stephen Curry ran to the last shot point, the New Orleans arena erupted with unstoppable cheers. After 4 shots, Curry's score has reached a staggering 26 points. As long as Curry hits all the last points, the score will be 32 points. This will break Stephen Curry's own record in the three-point contest. A record of 29 points. Crazy, really crazy. There was also a hint of mood swings on Curry's face. He was always paying attention to his scores. Up to now, he has only missed a flower ball. Now, he has a chance to break the record. Stephen Curry, his shooting is even more determined. The 5th point. Perhaps the mood fluctuated. The first ball popped out, and the fans on the spot were in an uproar and let out a sigh. Curry paused, he adjusted. Then the second ball hit steadily, 27 points. The third ball is still a steady hit, 28 points. The fourth goal, still scored. 29 points. Has tied the record. At this moment, everyone's breathing on the sidelines stagnated, and there is still the last flower ball. If it is made, Stephen Curry will break his record again. Unless Anxi follows to break Stephen Curry's record, Stephen Curry is firmly seated on the throne of the three-pointer in the history of the three-point contest. Stephen Curry did not hesitate, took a deep breath, aimed at the basket, and threw the last flower ball with 1 second left. A ball attracted the attention of the audience, including everyone in the world. The arc of basketball is perfect. It is still Stephen Curry's unique scoring rhythm. It looks like this goal is about to be scored. The fans at the scene stood up, ready to cheer at any time. New record! New record, the commentator on the scene also shouted loudly. Boom! The basketball hit the outside of the basket and didn't make it. The New Orleans arena immediately exclaimed. Not in, the commentator on the scene hugged his head. This result is a pity. Stephen Curry failed to break his own record, but his 29-point scoring has tied his own record. This score is already very high. He only missed 3 goals. So, latecomers Klay Thompson and Anxi are under greater pressure. Although he failed to break the record, his 29-point score is already high. Anxi no longer thinks about the three-pointer. He now thinks about whether he wants to further improve his three-point ability. Ray Allen's three-point ability is very strong, and the attribute value has reached 90, but Stephen Curry's three-point attribute, conservatively estimated, should have 95. The 95 three-point attribute is too outside the three-point line. You can shoot in 3 moves, and such a three-pointer is already against the sky. Anxi can already clearly feel that the future league will be the world of three-pointers. 90 three-pointers is not low, but Anxi wants to be the top player. The higher the three-pointers, the better. Klay Thompson played when Anxi was thinking about it. Klay Thompson did not lose confidence because his teammate scored 29 points. On the contrary, he was as confident as Stephen Curry and also set the ballpoint in the right corner. Then, the referee blew his whistle and Klay Thompson also started his final shot. The first goal is scored. The second goal is scored. Then came the third, fourth, fifth. Like Stephen Curry, the first shot was made. Get 10 points straight away. Then, for the second shooting point, Klay Thompson did a better job than Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry missed the ball, and Klay Thompson was more stable. He even made the ball. The first 2 shooting points all hit. Then the third shooting point, there was still a clear wiping sound. Klay Thompson went on. A moment later, he made all 5 shots again. The first 3 shooting points scored 22 points. Even Stephen Curry felt the pressure. Klay Thompson broke out. At the 4th shooting point, all the fans stood up again, and the on-site commentator had already chanted the pre-match propaganda, "This is the strongest three-point contest in history." Klay Thompson was not affected by the fans and commentary on the sidelines in the slightest. He played steadily. His fourth shot was another 5 consecutive shots. So far, Klay Thompson has not lost a goal. Stephen Curry also stood up. Klay Thompson had scored 28 points and was only 1 point short of beating him. Stephen Curry had a premonition of his failure, but he stood up and prepared to be his teammate. Cheer. For the last shot, the first goal, Klay Thompson glanced at the basket, then grabbed the basketball and shot it. With the crisp sound of wiping the net, Klay Thompson tied Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry on the sidelines raised his hand, and an 11 also applauded. Then, for the second ball, there was another swish. Braked. 30 points. Klay Thompson broke Stephen Curry's record. Klay Thompson, the dark horse, was born. When everyone was discussing who Angie and Stephen Curry were the strongest three-pointers in history, Klay Thompson suddenly appeared. Breaking Stephen Curry's record, Klay Thompson furiously did not continue to shoot. The third ball, with a scream, hit it again. The fourth ball, still the same sound, continued to hit. 32 points. The sideline commentator opened his mouth wide. Does Klay Thompson want to complete a full score? Let the latecomers never break his record. But, with a bang, and the last flower ball, Klay Thompson fell short. But after finishing all his shots, Klay Thompson turned and shouted. With a grim complexion, he excitedly celebrated his success. Stephen Curry also rushed up, although he has lost the three-pointer crown, but as a teammate, he ran up to celebrate with Klay Thompson the first time. The New Orleans arena is crazy. Klay Thompson broke Stephen Curry's record. He only missed a flower ball and scored 32 points. And Angie wanted to beat Klay Thompson to win the championship. He could only hit all or just shoot. Lost an orange ball, but it's too difficult. As the commentator said, if Angie wants to beat Klay Thompson, he must hit all goals or just miss an orange ball, but this is too difficult. No one believes Angie can do it, including Angie himself. However, an 11 did not give up either. After the celebration on the court, an 11 played again. Like Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, Angie placed the ballpoint on the right bottom corner. He will have an upright duel. Even if he can't beat Klay Thompson, Angie must beat Stephen Curry. At the bottom corner on the right, Angie is ready to go. With a beep, Angie directly grabbed the first flower ball and cast it as soon as it was pulled up. With a bang, Angie's heart beat. The first goal was not scored. Angie has already lost the opportunity to directly defeat Klay Thompson. An 11's heart was tight, and when the second shot was taken, it was a little too far. With a bang, the commentator has announced, Angie has lost the title of three-pointer. Klay Thompson has become the three-pointer in this three-point contest. However, Angie kept his goal in mind, he adjusted a bit, and then quickly threw the third ball. Swish, an accurate hit. Then Angie also hit the fourth and fifth goals. He adjusted back, ran to the second shooting point, swish 5 consecutive shots, Angie scored 5 consecutive goals, and he gradually controlled the rhythm. The top position of the arc is considered Angie's strongest position. In the first round, he also placed his flower ball point here. Therefore, this position Angie seemed to be able to do well and once again scored 5 goals. The fourth shooting point, go on, with a scream, the first ball hits. Then, with a scream, the second ball hit. The third ball hit. The fourth goal is hit. As Angie hits one after another, the atmosphere on the scene also reached a climax. Although Angie has lost the game, the adjusted Angie also hit one after another without losing a goal. With a scream, the last goal of the fourth shooting point was hit again. After 4 shooting points, Anzi scored 24 points. Then, at the last shot point, Anzi was calm and terrible. First ball, huh. The second ball, huh. The third ball, huh. The rumbling cheers gradually sounded, and Anzi continued to hit all. The fourth goal, with a scream, still scored. At this time, Anzi's score has come to 28 points. Finally, for the fifth goal, whether Anzi can surpass Stephen Curry's 29 points depends on this goal. Stephen Curry also got nervous off the court and was short of breath. On the field, Anzi jumped high and threw the last flower ball before the end of time. With a scream, the entire New Orleans arena blasted. Go in. Anzi scored 30 points. In the opening consecutive missed goals, Anzi hits 23 consecutive goals. In the end, he scored 30 points. Although he failed to beat Klay Thompson, Anzi still defeated Stephen Curry. He is second in the best three-point contest in history. Anzi didn't celebrate. He didn't get the three-pointer. He naturally wouldn't celebrate. He walked quietly to the sidelines. Stephen Curry glanced at Anzi and also at Klay Thompson, chewing on his braces and talking cruelly. You won, but next time, I will definitely beat you, including Klay. I will beat everyone. Anzi smiled, me too. Looking at Klay Thompson on the other side, now, it is not the war between Anzi and Stephen Curry, but the war between Anzi, Klay Thompson, and Stephen Curry. Klay Thompson also laughed, I am waiting for your challenge. He has put himself in the position of the three-pointer, and Anzi and Curry have become challengers. To be continued, mobile users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 432. A genius remembers love male sign go divided by Xiao, speaking rightward arrow net in 1 second, and provides you with wonderful novel reading. Anzi failed to win the three-pointer, and after 2 rounds of three-pointers, he was a little tired, so he took Abby out of the arena and didn't watch the next dunk contest. However, Anzi still knows the results of the dunk contest. This dunk contest is known as the most unspectacular dunk contest in history. The 6 players who participated in the dunk contest are Paul George, John Wall, Terrence Ross, and Dami. In Lillard, Ben McLemore, and Harrison Barnes, except Paul George and Terrence Ross, other players are not strong dunkers. However, the result of the dunk contest was unexpected. The Eastern Army won the preliminaries of the dunk contest, and then the fans voted. John Wall became the dunk king of this dunk contest, and he is also the most water dunk king in history. The last day of the All-Star Weekend is the highlight of the All-Star Weekend, the All-Star Game. As a starter in the East, Anzi can naturally think about the All-Star MVP, but in fact, Anzi also understands that the Eastern All-Stars have teamed up. The starters read Wayne Wade, LeBron James, and Carmelo Anthony are irons. Dude, plus Chris Paul from the West, are known as the 4 heroes. Another starter, Paul George, also has the advantage that the All-Star coach is Pacers coach Frank Vogel. Therefore, the All-Star MVP Anzi really has no chance. Basically, if the Eastern Conference wins, the All-Star MVP will either be taken away by the 3 heroes or Paul George. There is basically nothing about Anzi. Therefore, Anzi is not prepared to spend too much energy on the All-Star Game. On February 17, 2014, the All-Star Game was held at the New Orleans Arena. As the host, Anthony Davis stood in the center of the court. He was still a little restrained, but at the host's gesture, Anthony Davis was still pulling the voice shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ears of the 2014 New Orleans All-Star Game. I am Anthony Davis. Now, I announce that the 2014 All-Star Game has officially begun. Then, the music sounded. On the scene of the All-Star Game, there was a song and dance performance. The rapper Aloe first appeared, then Nelly and Snoop Dogg, also rappers, and then, the rapper, Pharrell Williams. P. Diddy and Busta Rhymes, Trombone Shorty, appeared one after another. Finally, it is the appearance ceremony of the players from the East and West. The appearance ceremonies of players from the East and West are also in a certain order, usually according to the votes of the All-Star votes. For example, in the West, Kevin Durant played the finale, then the East is Angie. The first player to play is Anthony Davis. As the host, he is the first to play. The DJ on the scene shouted passionately, "The first one to appear. Our favorite. Anthony Davis." Then, the New Orleans arena burst into cheers. The second player to play was the Eastern Conference's turn. Because it was the bench who played first, so the first player to play was Kelly Irving. As the league's current star, Kelly Irving became the star of the bench. Then, Chris Paul, Chris Bosh, Dirk Nowitzki, John Wall, Tony Parker, DeMar DeRozan, Dwight Howard, Paul Millsap, Damian Lillard, Joakim Noah, LaMarcus Aldridge, Roy Hibbert successively appeared. Then, it was the ceremony of the starting scene. At the start of the Western Conference, the live DJ yelled, "Let's welcome Kevin Love from Minnesota Timberwolves." Kevin Love waved his hand and ran out. Not long after standing, the DJ continued to shout, "The next one is Dwayne from the Miami Heat." Wade, James Harden, Blake Griffin, Stephen Curry played one after another, and here in the East, Paul George and Carmelo Anthony also played. Only Angie, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant were left behind. Outside the court, the DJ has already begun to shout loudly, "The next one is LeBron James from the Miami Heat." LeBron James glanced at Angie and Kevin Durant, then turned his head and ran out. Outside the court, cheers rang out, and New Orleans fans also gave LeBron James a tidal wave of cheers. Kevin Durant came next. Next, let us welcome Kevin Durant from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Kevin Durant waved his hand and ran out, leaving Angie alone in the background. Angie waited quietly. The passionate voice of the live DJ sounded again, "Next, let us have it. Angie from the Philadelphia 76ers." Angie rushed out, and as soon as he rushed out, he immediately rushed to his head with a hot cheer. Angie waved his arms, the oncoming arena looked crowded, and the flash of the mobile phone in the dark seemed to be shining with stars. With the appearance of Angie, the All-Star Game officially began. The darkness dissipated, the light reappeared, the curtain on the court was removed, the court was exposed, and the players wore training jackets and began to warm up. The head coach of the East Army, Frank Vogel, quickly gathered all the starting players together and talked about the tactics of the game. "Guys, our tactics for this game are very simple: singles, no screens, unlimited singles. For this point, Coach Scott Brooks and I have an agreement that the Eastern and Western teams will play singles, so I hope you can do this, unlimited singles." Frank Vogel waved and said, "Paul George couldn't help but cut in, isn't passing the ball allowed?" "Coach." Frank Vogelton paused, "Of course the pass is allowed, but I don't think no one wants to pass." Everyone laughed, even LeBron James smiled. Yes, no one wants to pass the ball to others. The All-Star Game is a place to show oneself. No one wants to give up their chance to others. After talking about the tactics, the game began. Joe Crawford is the referee of the All-Star Game. The two deputy referees are Lauren Holdcamp and Dan Crawford. One is a well-known veteran referee, and the other is a new beauty referee, an all-star referee. In the arena, even the referees are star level. The East and West starters arrived in the middle of the court, and Joe Crawford also walked to the middle with the basketball. In this game, Angzi's opponent was James Harden, and the two patted each other on the shoulders, and said hello. Then, with a beep, Joe Crawford threw the basketball into the sky. Cameron Anthony and Blake Griffin, who were guest centers, jumped up. Griffin won the jump ball with a better bounce, and the Western troops attacked first. Angzi also faced James Harden on the defensive end. However, the first ball was not yet Harden's turn. Stephen Curry took possession of the ball and advanced to the front court, then accelerated directly into the interior and scored 2 points with a dexterous layup. Stephen Curry's two-point game started a good start. Then, the East Army attacked, and it was James who took the ball. As expected, Anthony and the others teamed up and gave the basketball to James in the opening game. James met Kevin Durant, and there was a scream from the sidelines. Then James made a crushing breakthrough, passing Durant in one step, rushing to the inside to complete a dunk, and the New Orleans arena suddenly cheered. After playing the two balls, Angzi found out that this all-star game is actually an exhibition game. Whoever has the most say in the game can score unlimited points with the ball. Anyway, Angzi has no idea about MVP, so it doesn't matter. After several rounds of playing back and forth, the basketball came to Angzi's hands. As the All-Star Ticket King, when Angzi got the basketball, the score of the two sides also became 11-9, and the Western team led by 2 points. James and the others hid, and only after a few rounds did they think of Angzi, and Angzi didn't care about it. He naturally wanted to make the most of the basketball when he got it in his hands. James Harden defended Angzi 2 steps away. When Angzi saw this, he was not very polite. He made a three-pointer from the outside without any suspense. He hit. At 11-12, the Eastern Conference overtook 1 point. Angzi also got his first point in the All-Star game. On the other side of the ocean, after Angzi hit a three-pointer, CCTV's live broadcast room was like a Chinese New Year. After a burst of cheers, director Zhang happily shouted, "Angzi scored! Angzi scored!" The All-Star scored first. Yu Jia also summarized on the side, although the All-Star race is an exhibition game, the All-Star MVP is still very gold-rich. This is the star of the star. Angzi scored 3 points. It is a good start. We also hope. I saw Angzi becoming the first Chinese All-Star MVP. On the court, Angzi scored, but Paul George was a little unhappy. After playing for 2 or 3 minutes, he didn't even touch the ball and only grabbed the rebound. After grabbing the basketball, he was still by LeBron. James got it. And now Angzi also scored, but LeBron James did not intend to give the ball to Paul George once again. After the Western team scored again, LeBron James took the ball and rushed into the penalty area, obviously not planning to give the ball to Paul George. Rushing inside, another dunk, LeBron James scored his 6th point of the game, and Paul George still didn't score a point at this time. In the next period of time, Angzi and Paul George played soy sauce. Paul George finally took the second ball and scored 2 points through a dunk. However, this dunk also helped James by the way. So overall, James still take advantage. Can't get the ball at all, Angzi is okay, he has no idea, Paul George has an idea. The Pacers have a very good record this season, and Frank Vogel has become the head coach of the East. Originally, Paul George wanted to use the advantage rush to the All-Star MVP, the result is now good, the three heroes have control of the ball, it seems that he even has no chance to get the ball. After he had an idea, Paul George became dissatisfied. He glanced at Angzi, who also couldn't get the ball, and immediately had an idea. To be continued, mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan Sanbuletnji. Chapter 433. With a wave of offensive from the west, Kevin Durant made a mid-range shot and the basketball passed through the net and fell to the floor. Paul George immediately took a step forward and took the basketball backcourt first, but LeBron James didn't care and waited in the backcourt to prepare to receive the ball. Anzi did not notice anything unusual. He stayed in the backcourt with LeBron James and waited for the backcourt ball to come out. When everyone thought Paul George would pass the ball to James, George turned his head and threw the basketball directly to Anzi. Anzi froze for a moment. He was not a fool, and he understood in an instant. Paul George is going to form an alliance with him. An 11 was happy, and his hand movements were not slow. I ignored LeBron James's request for the ball, and went straight to the front court, and then directly took a singles posture to face James Harden's defense. Harden's defense this season was pretty good, but at the beginning of the All-Star game, Harden's defense was not serious. After Anzi held the ball, he made a breakthrough and rushed directly in. The 96-point breakthrough was unstoppable. However, there will be no one to block. Kevin Love on the inside line pretended to make up. Anzi still put the basketball into the hoop, relying on Love. In this regard, an 11 scored his 5th point in the first quarter. Then, the Western troops attacked. Stephen Curry missed a shot from the outside. Anzi grabbed the rebound, and after taking control of the front court, he returned the basketball to Paul George. However, George was in a very general state, hitting Griffin on the back, turning around and not making a jumper. Anzi rushed to grab the rebound again, grabbed the basketball in his arms before Love, and then directly lay up and scored 2 points. After scoring 4 points in a row, Anzi's score came to 7 points and another 2 rebounds. But in the next period of time, Paul George thought about the backcourt and it was difficult. The three heroes suffered a loss, and then they did not give in to the ball, and Anzi had no chance to get the ball. But soon, the West Army strengthened the defense, they gradually took the lead, and the three heroes were also anxious. They also began to strengthen the defense. From the second half of the first quarter, the game really became exciting. On the offensive of the Western troops, Stephen Curry on the outside hit a three-pointer, pulling the score to 37-25, and the Western troops led by 12 points. With the last 3 minutes left in the first quarter, LeBron James was also in a hurry. After receiving the ball, he directly broke through Kevin Durant in the front court. Durant also strengthened his defense. When James broke through, he was quick to break through. After losing James' possession and grabbing the basketball, he made a quick break and rushed to the front court to make another layup. At 39-25, the West's lead came to 14 points. That is, after this mistake, Frank Vogel made a substitution. James and Wade were replaced, Kelly Irving and Roy Hibbert played. Paul George's opportunity came. Read the full text of the latest chapters. In the first round after the substitution, Paul George took the ball directly from the sideline, and after taking control of the front court, he came to a male teacher for singles female students. However, facing the defense of Anthony Davis coming from the bench, George's mid-range shot was missed, and George was really depressed, but there was nothing to do. The opportunity was given, and his state was not good and there was nothing to say. After the Western troops grabbed the rebound, they went straight to the fast break. Lillard rushed to the front court with the ball, and then went directly to the basket. Roy Hibbert made a supplement to defend Lillard's fast break and layup. Down, turned around and grabbed the rebound again. Anzi asked for the ball directly, Hibbert did not hesitate and gave it directly. After Anzi got the ball, he went down immediately. The West troops also retired quickly, but Anzi still went directly to the basket, facing Dwight Howard's defensive layup. With a beep, the referee's whistle sounded. Anzi caused a foul by Dwight Howard, and the basketball got into the basket at the same time. 2-1. There was a whistle from the New Orleans arena. Anzi smiled and didn't care. After all, Anthony Davis was present at this time. As a home fan, the fans in New Orleans would naturally support the West. Angzi followed and walked to the free throw line. Frank Vogel was preparing for a substitution off the field. DeMar DeRozan and Paul Millsap stood on the sidelines and prepared to replace Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. Angzi needs free throws were not replaced. The referee passed the basketball to Angzi. Angzi slapped the basketball twice and threw the basketball lightly. With a scream, he added a penalty and made an accurate hit. He scored another 3 points. In a blink of an eye, Angzi's score was actually the highest score of the East. He has already scored 1 point higher than LeBron James, who scored 9 points. At this time, LeBron James could only sit on the court and watch Angzi score, but after Angzi scored 3 points in a row, the East team was still 11 points behind the West team. The game continued, with the last 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Lillard attacked with the ball and handed over to James Harden to handle the front court. Like Angzi, Harden was the only player in the West. After taking the ball, Harden faced Angzi's defense. The Western troops are all attacking and defending with real swords and guns. Therefore, Angzi did not intend to let Harden attack. Angzi defended very seriously. Angzi saw through every false move of Harden, and then used lateral movement to make up for it, blocking Harden's breakthrough. After a series of fake moves on the outside, Harden failed to find a chance. He directly turned around, then made a backward jumper and shot the basketball. With a bang, the basketball hit the iron. Roy Hibbert inside jumped up, grabbed the rebound, and then again threw the basketball to Angzi, who was about to fall. The Eastern troops made a fast break, and there was another whistle on the sidelines. This time, Angzi strode directly, rushed into the free throw line after 2 or 3, and then slammed on the floor directly, if the eagle leapt up. Without being guarded, Angzi played a flower job, replaced the crotch, and then directly a one-armed windmill, with a bang, a loud bang, and a big bang to avenge the president. An 11 tugged the ring fiercely, and the basket groaned again. Then, an 11 fell to the floor and hammered his chest fiercely. At this moment, the New Orleans arena could no longer bear it. Cheers exploded. Beautiful dunk. Worthy of being the strongest yellow dunk king. The champion of this dunk contest should be awarded to Angzi. The Dunk King's trophy was given to John Wall. Let us compensate with the All-Star MVP trophy. Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith joked, spitting out this dunk contest, and praised Angzi's dunk. Angzi dunks ignited the New Orleans arena. If an All-Star game is selected for the top 5 goals, Angzi's one-armed windmill dunk after a change of hands should be ranked first. But soon, Angzi was also replaced. After the first quarter, the score of the two teams became 43-34, which is a big score. Considering the poor defense of both sides, it is only necessary to score such a score. It was normal. At the end of the first quarter, the West was still leading by 9 points. In the second quarter, Frank Vogel replaced the three heroes. Angzi and Paul George sat on the bench, and the two began a harmonious exchange. "And, you played well, you scored 12 points and you have a chance to compete for MVP." Paul George leaned in Angzi's ear and said that Angzi had an idea. After the first quarter, Angzi scored 12 points. It's not unreasonable to keep on playing, score 1 point, and grab the All-Star MVP trophy. May. Thinking of this, Angzi looked at Paul George and also lowered his voice, "I think, but if I play with LBJ and the others, I can't get the ball." Paul George gave you a relieved look this time, and then said, "Wait, Coach Frank will definitely let us play together. Then, I will pass you the ball." Angzi smiled and put his hand on, and gave Paul George a high five. "That's a deal." Playing for another 8 minutes in the second quarter, the efficiency of the three heroes was not bad. The 9-point lag was not extended by the West. Frank Vogel waved his hand and replaced again. Angzi and Paul George appeared on the stage and matched John Wall, Chris Bosh and Joe Canoa, there is another lineup on the field. In the West, Scott Brooks has also changed. The West has also been replaced by James Harden and Kevin Durant, plus point guard Tony Parker and inside Dirk Nowitzki and LaMarcus Aldridge is also a new lineup. After the substitution, the Western team advanced with a 5-point difference. Tony Parker took possession of the ball and advanced to the front court, giving it to Kevin Durant. Durant singled out Paul George. George's defense was very tenacious and he refused to give up. In the end, Durant made a mid-range jumper and scored with a scream. The point difference became 7 points. Then, the East team backcourt, John Wall took control of the ball to the front court. He commanded Angzi and Paul George's movement from the outside. Angzi did not hesitate, and went straight from the bottom line. Paul George gave Angzi one screening. Angzi went to the outside line and directly received a pass from John Wall. The president entered the game for love. With a scream, he hit a three-pointer on the spot. The point difference immediately narrowed to 4 points. When returning to the defense, Angzi made a high five with Paul George and John Wall. After retiring, the East team played more seriously. If you want to win the All-Star MVP, you have to win, and if you want to win, the last 4 points behind must be pulled back and want to pull back. Back to the final 4 points, you have to do a good job of defense. Harden singled Angzi with the ball. In this game, Angzi didn't give Harden any face. The same was true for this ball. After Harden broke through, Angzi cut the ball directly. When halfway through the breakthrough, the ball was cut by Angzi. Then there was a rush in the penalty area, and in the end Angzi grabbed the basketball first. Picked up the basketball and rushed towards the front court, then, directly shot a chasing three-pointer. Go in again. After the crisp sound of wiping the net, there was a huge cheer in the New Orleans arena, and Angzi was also high, waving his arms from the sidelines and happily celebrating another three-pointer. There is only 1 point left, and Angzi has also scored 18 points. Everything is going very smoothly.